is a Think Live Be production.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yay.
Excuse me. I almost sneezed.
Right on the first second?
The first second. I have already sneezed like 3 times this morning. It's just one of those days. Is that just me?
Yeah.
You don't?
I'm fine.
Yeah, you're fine. Okay. Well, anyways, yeah, good morning. I see that the sun is in just the right spot at this moment. So whatever time it is, we need to mark it and say this is when we record. Okay. Anyways, how's your day today?
My day is fine so far. It's 8:00 in the morning.
We
try to do this, as everybody knows. We don't want to get in the way of lead generation time.
Right.
So we try to do this as early as we can in the morning. So,
well, if you listen to our last episode, we talked about dollar producing versus
this is not dollar producing.
This does not make any money. And it's just, I find it helpful to talk through things, which is why we started recording the podcast. Is like, we're already talking about real estate constantly, always talking about, if we would have done this, or what could we do about this, ideas.
It's also easier. It's like when you do a listing appointment and you kind of go through the whole listing appointment out loud before you go and do it that day. Yeah. Even after 18 years of doing listing appointments, you still do that. I think that there's something to be said for doing a podcast like this and talking out the things that should be second nature, the things that you already know, but saying them out loud over and over and over again really solidifies and calcifies the fundamentals.
Well, it's kind of like if you write it down. Yeah. It's the same kind of thing. Like if you write something down, you're more likely to remember it. Yeah. So I think it kind of works the same way. And then we figured we might as well record it and let other people listen if they so choose. Yeah. So welcome, listeners, and thank you for joining us.
Even though we know that we say things you don't want to hear.
Wow. That's the thing about this business is, it is people. I was explaining this. I have a new team member. And so I was explaining just the general basics of what to expect from team members. And as people get hired, they always, if they're new, and even seasoned agents can feel this way, I think. But if they're new to the business, they always think that things are going to be easier than they are. They have this misconception. And I'm sure I did too. It was such a long time ago. I don't remember exactly like what I thought I was going to be doing every day. I guess I thought I was going to be showing houses and writing offers.
Well, I think you don't remember, the slow burn of on Tuesday you didn't have a real estate license and on Wednesday you did, and how long it took from that Wednesday to when you actually felt like you were a successful agent.
Oh, that was years.
And the trend, yes. So you didn't. So it's like, but then it's. So you don't really remember that messy time to such a degree that you know what I mean? Like it's a little, I don't know. It's a, I think people think it's easier, but you didn't have anyone telling you because you weren't on a team and you didn't know any other agents really when you got started.
Yeah, I knew 0 real estate agents. Yeah, like I do not come from a background of like my mom or dad or anybody was a realtor. I had never met a real estate agent. What was I thinking?
Yeah, I know. So it really was just you didn't know what you didn't know, and it took as long as it took because that's how long it takes. Like there wasn't anyone telling you, no, you should have this by now, or you should have this many listings by now, or you should have this many contacts by now, or you need to make this many calls. Like there was nobody doing any of those things. You had to kind of teach yourself. That's why I think Kathryn spent the first few years in real estate most of the time taking classes and trying to learn everything she could, which looking back on was, I think, a defense mechanism of I'm working.
Well, a lot of people do that. You take classes every single day, show
thinking
up,
you're working,
but don't actually put those things into action.
Right.
That's the mistake. Not taking the class. Taking the classes is super important. You should be there every single day that you have the ability to do that and learn, because you don't know what you're doing.
But nobody was saying, hey, maybe you shouldn't be taking those classes. Maybe schedule those classes for a later date and instead start to build a sphere.
Yeah.
Right. And then this is what you're going to do with that sphere, and this is how you're going to handle that sphere, and this is how you get started, and this is what you do when you do an open house, and this is how you get open houses when you don't have listings, and there wasn't anyone showing you how to do any of that stuff. It was all trial and error.
Yeah, but what I was saying though was, I was explaining to a new team member who has no real estate background, and they've come to join us on the operations administrative side, and they have zero knowledge of real estate. Never bought a house, never sold a house, zero knowledge.
Right, let alone how the back end works.
And so we're talking about the recruitment process and what to expect from people, because that's the biggest challenge when you start to hire other people. Is they have job duties, and they have to have sales. They have to do they have to take the actions, do the activities, learn the scripts, learn the dialogues, and have sales. And if they don't, then they're not actually a productive team member. It's just like any other business. If you don't do your job, if you don't produce the results that the job requires, then you don't get to stay. And
every job in any business costs the business money in order for that job to exist and to pay that person.
Of course.
Whether it's admin person or a salesperson, they still cost money in all sorts of different ways. Time, energy, all of other admins helping those, doing things for those agents, all of that stuff. So if the agents can't produce enough to cover the cost of them being there, then they can't be there. Well,
and what I was explaining was that people get into the real estate business for the wrong reasons, and I'm sure I did too. I think I probably thought it would be fun, and
I make my own schedule, right?
Make my own schedule and all these things, and then you quickly learn that in order to actually make sales and actually have income, you have a job to do.
You don't get to make your own time. You don't get to make
just like every other job does.
Own schedule until you've earned the right to be able to do that. And that is the way you earn that right is by getting enough sales and enough sphere and enough lead gen in so that you can do those things. You don't get to just have a free open schedule on your first day without paying your dues.
Yeah.
It's like, I think that's what it is. It's like people want it now. Hand me the leads. How many leads do I get? Hand me a bunch of stuff.
Well, that's the other thing.
And it's like, you guys put your head down and do the work. It's going to take a few years for you to be successful, just like any other job.
Can I interrupt you before you get real ranty?
It makes me angry because people want to see like instant success without doing the work.
Well, I think it makes you angry because you know how long it took. Like
it's because I'm older, so I know how hard I've worked and how much effort I've put in to be good at what I do. And people they get their license, they join a team, they give it 30 days, they don't do the work, and then they're like, "Why am I not successful?" And it's like, you guys, you're not even doing what you're being the bare minimum. You guys don't do. So what the hell?
Where were we going with this?
I don't know.
Well, it's just explaining that people get into the business for the wrong reasons.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And
that, I guess on a team, you get jump started to what the job is very, very, very quickly. And we get to, because a lot of times when people leave the team, they leave real estate. So it's, whereas with Kathryn, if she would have joined a team on the first day, we might not be sitting here right now because she might have gotten thrown, like she gradually learned what real estate was as a single agent, right? It took a while.
What are you implying?
I'm implying that maybe
what
if you would have been thrown into a team right at the beginning and saw what real estate was, you might have said, I don't know if this is right for me.
I do wonder about that. But first of all, let's take it back a moment. I have said many, many times over the years, I don't know if I'm cut out for this.
Right.
Because it's not easy. But that's the problem, is that people think that it is. That's why there's so many real estate licensees. And yet,
it's easy to get a license. It's not easy to be a successful agent.
Right. And the reason I was explaining all this is because I'm going to have her start helping with recruiting, and you have to understand what people are looking for and make sure that they get that there is, it's still a job. It's a job. You're going to have to work for it. Mm-hmm. That's just the reality.
It's not a job. It's not even a job. It's a career.
Oh, it's a career.
And
but
careers are different than jobs. Jobs, you get to go in and clock out, right? And that's it. You go in, you do your job, and then you go home. A career is something you build. And in order for you to build it, you have to pay your dues. Building means that towards the end of it, after you've put in a bunch of work, you get this thing, this career. You don't get to just have the career right out as soon as you get your license. You have to build it, whether you join a team or not. It takes time. Unless your mother and father are real estate agents and they hand you the book and teach you everything. But if you're just saying, I think I want to go get my real estate license and then walk out with it, it's like every once in a while someone gets real lucky. They have connections and stuff and they get lucky and things just work. But for 99%, you're going to have to buckle down and work your butt off for years before you see the success and have the ability to create your own schedule and to have that flexibility that you want.
I can't remember who it was, but it's some like super big top producing agent and team. And I know it's a female because I can like hear her saying it, but I can't remember who it was. But she was saying like, people have asked her like, where did you guys come from? Like as if they just like suddenly were on the scene and at all the events on stage and stuff. And her response was just, oh, I mean, we've been here for 20 years just doing it, Yeah. It's like, it takes time. But what we're going to talk about today is that we do these little community events that are pretty low cost in our farm area. And it's a quick and easy way to add people to your database. So because a lot of times people are like, well, I don't know who to call. How do I meet people? I just moved here. I don't know anybody here. How am I supposed to build a sphere, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There are plenty of ways to get into a community and start building database contacts. And low-cost community events are those things. So I just wanted to kind of talk about those because, again, those aren't leads. Don't misunderstand. They're leads if they have a real estate need. But they're not. They're contacts that if you get to know them over time, they can produce results. But if you read the MREA book, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, they talk about METs and not METs. And so the first thing you should do before you do anything else is build your sphere out. Who do you already know that would recognize your name? Do that first. But then when you start to think about not METs, there are you could send out direct mail. That's expensive. It's not something. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying it's expensive. And so these little community events are things that you can do, and it
also takes a really long time.
Because imagine this, okay? I'm going to send out 500 postcards today. Well, in order for me to get an appointment, one of those 500 people has to have a real estate need at that moment in time, not already have an agent and say to themselves, I'm going to call this person on this postcard that's sending it to me for the first time that I've never seen or heard of before.
Right.
So then you send it again the next month. And the same thing, like you've got to be hitting somebody at that exact moment in time.
Right. And you've got to remember those postcards. And that's for 500 people. Those postcards, it's like at 500 people, it's going to cost 89 cents to get the postcard printed.
I think it's more than that these days.
And then the cost of mailing it and uploading and all of that stuff. So it's like 500 postcards, $500. Just think about it that way.
So...
And then remember, you have to do it every month.
Yes, and
right. So think about that money, and then like, is that the best thing for me to be spending that money on right now?
Well, do you even have it? If you haven't yet made a sale,
it's not that it doesn't work. It's that it's long-term lead gen, and it needs to be able to fit into your budget model. And if it doesn't, then we'll talk about some ways to kind of do that, build your database today that don't cost that kind of scratch.
I think if you, I'm just doing some real quick math, but if you were mailing to 500 people over a year, you'd probably have like 10 responses.
Yeah.
So those are leads. So you end up with 10 leads. Well, how many do you need to set an appointment?
20.
Or like 20 conversations, most
20
likely.
Conversations.
Now, you might have a higher success rate with those leads because they're reaching out to you.
Yeah.
So it may be 1 in 10. Maybe you get one listing from those postcards from that group of people.
And that's after doing it for a year, right? Those aren't your numbers on the first week. It's like you could get lucky, but you can't build a business off of, I hope I get lucky. You have to build it off of facts. So you won't even see the results for a year. So if you're like, I need a listing right now, I'm just going to send out these postcards.
Well, and something to think about.
Idea.
Something to think about. What we're talking about is a mass mailing to a neighborhood farming, and you're not targeting people that are likely to sell.
You're just targeting people.
Just people who happen to live in that neighborhood. So you also might be getting some renters in there, et cetera.
Yeah.
Point is, it's a long game. You do it over and over and over and over again, so that when the person who is in that group actually needs to sell and they don't have an agent, that they might think of you because they've seen your name multiple times and they just got their next new postcard.
Right.
Like, as an example, in the last week, we got a call from an absentee. I've been mailing that dude letters for years. Mm-hmm. And I didn't immediately recognize his name, but like, it was familiar. But he said, he's like, oh yeah, I've been getting letters from you for years and years. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I think we might want to start thinking about, right. He's getting to that age where he's owned these rental properties for 20 years and it's time to divest. So it takes that long to see those results. Well, so what we're talking about today are like lower cost things that you can do to get people's contact info. And then of course you have to reach out to them. That's the job part, is like, if you get a bunch of people's contact info and then you don't call and have a conversation, you don't email them anything else, you don't keep in touch, because that's the hard part, is what do I say to somebody who actually doesn't have a real estate need that registered for some community event? What do I say every time I call? So maybe we'll talk about that in the second half. But the point is, this is a way to get contact information so that you can build your not met database. And what I'm about to describe is not in-person events, because those would qualify probably as METs. If you like, we will do.
They're also not low cost.
Well, they still can be. So let me describe some events that are in person that if you do them over time, these people become METs. It's like we farm a neighborhood and we do their Easter egg hunt. And so they already do an Easter egg hunt. I just sponsor it. So we come with food, and I'm sure we've got episodes about this specifically, but
gift baskets, prizes,
prizes, the golden egg prize. And so we're there and present. So I guess what happens, you see the same people every single year. So those people that sign up to win the raffle prize, well, I've just added to my MET database because I know those people now. I'm out in the community. So that's a way to do it too. The thing with that is, I actually find that you get less registrations at those events, because what we're giving in those events is a raffle, like a gift basket. And so maybe at a good Easter egg hunt, I mean, we've had Easter egg hunts where there's like 100 people, 150 people, maybe even more.
Yeah.
However, it's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And parents are there trying to wrangle their children.
Yes.
So they're not having really in-depth.
Yes. It's the morning. The kids are all jacked up on sugar, waiting for the Easter bunny and to go run around 1,000 miles an hour. Yeah. There's been donuts and orange juice served, so everyone is all riled up.
Yes.
The last thing they want to do is talk about real estate.
Yeah. So when we first started that event, we were doing just the raffle gift basket, and then we added in photography. And that actually gets a lot more registrations because people want a photo with their kid with the Easter Bunny.
Right. And the only way for us to get you your photo
is for me to get your information.
is for us to get your information. Right?
Can I tell you something? This is like an epic fail. Epic fail for this past Easter.
What? Because I'm the one who had to get up and go take the photos.
Uh-oh, Pat's mad.
And the only reason I do this stuff is because it's going to help with lead gen. And if I hear that the stuff's falling apart, that means I wasted my time. If you guys want to waste your time, go right ahead. Waste your time all day.
I regret this.
Waste my time. What?
We did not get the registrations for the Easter photos, the Easter Bunny photos.
Yeah.
We did not get phone numbers.
Well, how are you supposed to call them?
Oh, he's so mad.
How are you supposed to call them? How did you not get phone numbers? Weren't they on the piece of paper that people were filling out?
I don't think there was a space for it. But anyways.
But
wait.
Hold on. But okay, there wasn't a space for it, but wasn't there a sheet from the year before that somebody was supposed to follow and do it just like that?
I can't answer that question.
The answer for that is yes, there is. That's the question.
Hold on. Just hold on. Like, I'm laughing, but also this podcast is called Seeking the Best, because what happens is over time you realize best practices, and there is a sheet that should have a phone number space to get the phone number, but I got the form back for us to send the photos, and I realized that none of those people have phone numbers. So now, are they still now added to our database and they're going to get emails about that neighborhood? Yes. Is that what we want though? No, we want full contact info as much as we can get.
Yeah.
That's the only way to make sure that you have the conversion rates that they talk about in
this particular way. They don't know how they're going to get the information. They don't know, are you going to text me the photo? Are you going to email me the photo? Are you going to send me a link? They don't know. So when you ask for all their information, they will give it to you.
Yeah.
In this particular case.
Now, we also do the raffle gift basket. And so, like I said, that gets less registrations because people are out with their kids and they don't all come to the table to get snacks and register for the gift basket. So we get less. However, we got full contact info on that and even their mailing address on that too.
Right. That's the same situation. People want to be able to get what it is that you're offering. So they're going to give you any information you ask for.
Yeah.
So ask for all of it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And anytime you do an event,
that's different than
everybody's info.
Right. That's different than people walking in and doing a sign-in sheet or something like that. It's like that. You're not giving me anything of value that I need, so I'm not going to do it. Now, if I'm a real buyer and I'm looking for an agent, I might put all my information on there because you are offering something that I need.
Yeah.
And I can put two and two together. So I would, right? But generally speaking.
Well, so the other thing, we do luminaries at the same neighborhood in another neighborhood around the holidays. And same thing, I'm meeting these people, so I see the same people every year. So what's good about that is they are now at a higher likelihood that they could convert to business or refer you business because they're seeing you in their neighborhood.
Yeah,
and they're a Met.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. Is you have to remember that Met for when you. It's like back in my younger days, I was a DJ, right? I used to run a club. And
it wasn't like a dance club.
No, it wasn't a dance club. It was a rock club, rock and roll club. But I didn't know. Mets for me were way, way lower. Like I met so many people so often that I wouldn't remember who I was meeting. The alcohol probably added to that. But reverse it, right? So those people all knew who I was. Right. So this is the same thing. You go and you do the event. It's like you might not remember every single person you met last year, but they're going to remember you because you're the same person that was there. It's just one of you.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to remember it's way more. You're going to see a lot more of it's going to be charged that much more on your end than it would be on the other side. Well,
and so that's great because you're going to have a higher conversion for business and referrals from those people. However, you'll find that those in-person events, the people who are engaged with the community that come out to all the events, you're going to see the same people over and over again. So you're not going to have a chance to get as many new contacts at those events because it's the same people that come out.
Too. Yeah.
Not 100%.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of the same people. And so you still do them because you're going to add in the new people, but you'll get
building
to a point where there's not as many new not mets being,
and that's not a bad thing.
No, I'm just saying that's what happens with those types of events.
Yeah.
And so you keep doing them because you're putting yourself in front of people. You're a presence now.
Yeah.
But then there's the other side of it is where if you want to just get contacts, you can do more, like, let's call them virtual events. But no, I do not mean getting on Zoom and hanging out with people like we did in the pandemic. Well, I didn't do that. I was like, what is this? But other people did get together and do like happy hours on Zooms. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about having photo contests. The most recent one we did is Yard of the Season. So we're using the same farm area. You could do this in multiple neighborhoods, though. I think this is really a scalable, easy thing to do. Mm-hmm. But the most recent one was Yard of the Season.
You just have to know how to get besides the people that you're making Yard of the Season, to let people know that it's happening. So one postcard blast would do that to a certain extent, or poster in the community center, or whatever it happens to be.
Well, I'll tell you all the things that you can do, and then things I think, ways I think you could increase this. But the thing with this is that, like Yard of the Season, for example, you're not just going to get that farm area because people are excited that their yard might win. And so they're going to share the voting site with other friends and family. And so you're going to get people that you would never otherwise ever communicate with. You'd never even know existed in other areas of town voting on the site and giving you their contact info. And so it's an easy way. Like I would say on average, those pull in about 150 plus votes, depending on how many yards you have. The more yards you have, the more people. It's kind of like I don't know why this example popped into my head, but Pat's an artist. And so they're used when he was doing shows with art, having exhibits.
Yeah.
Sorry, my brain's not functioning this early. They would always, like, whoever was curating that exhibit would basically look for as many artists as they could get, right? Because that would mean that more people would show up to the show, because the more artists you have, the more of their friends are going to come.
If you're not a successful artist, like I was lucky enough to be able to do a solo show, and have a lot of people show up for it. But if you get 30, 40 artists to all put in one painting, then you're guaranteed that 30, 40 plus their significant others and one or two of their friends are going to show up. Right. All of a sudden it turned into 150 people there. Yeah, right?
Exactly. That's the easiest way to get exposure and is add more people to the pool. Yeah. And so same thing is true with an event like this. The more like yards you can get to participate, the more exposure you'll get to the voting site, which is the contact info. Like you want to grab all that information there. So, but first you have to identify the yards. And so I was going to walk through the steps, just a little bit of like what we do and other things you can do to get people to participate. But I need to take a break.
Oh, okay. No worries. All right, let's take a quick break.
The Think Live Be team is an Orlando-based real estate team with Keller Williams Realty at the Parks. We operate as a boutique-style company with the resources of the largest real estate company behind us. Think Live Be is looking for talented people like you to join our team. If you happen to live in the Orlando area and you're a detail-oriented quick learner, then we might have a place for you. Whether you're a real estate agent or administrative professional, we are looking for individuals who are ready to work hard and ready for success. If you're ready to join the team, visit us at thinklivebe.com.
And we're back.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you what we do, but I'm also going to like kind of say what's the like less technology version of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No.
I don't know. Because I don't know what you're going to say.
Okay. Well, like there's what we do, and then there's like you don't have to have like we have a landing page for the farm area. Right. And because we're already mailing to this farm area where we're doing Yard of the Season events, that we direct them to that landing page to nominate a yard or nominate themselves. You don't need a landing page to do this, is my point. You can just send a mailer to you could send a mailer to the entire neighborhood and give them an email address to email you their yard information or a neighbor's. You want to encourage them to nominate their neighbors too, because you don't want people to say, well, my yard's disgusting, oh well, and not participate.
Right. You want everyone to be able to participate.
Yeah. And so we mail a postcard. It's just our monthly postcard. It just gets changed to it's yard of the season time. And here's where you go to nominate yourself or a neighbor. And then they go to the same landing page that they can go to check their home value or contact us about selling, buying, whatever. And they put in the information. There's
a block.
And then there's a button that they push
right.
with a form that pops up and they put in the information. Right. But again, that can just be send me an email and let me know you want to participate. But we want their name, phone number, email address. And we have to get their address because it's the yard, or if they're a neighbor, so the form that we have them fill out, if they're nominating a neighbor, we still ask for their name, their phone number, the neighbor's phone number, and email if they have it. Because then we need to be able to reach out to the neighbor to see if they'd like to participate.
Right. That's true. I think I'm trying to remember, and I think that's how it's done now. But when we first started, we didn't know how it was going to work. So we actually drove around the neighborhood.
Well, that's the next step.
Wrote down addresses.
We still do that.
Oh, we do. Okay.
Yes, because what happens is, again, just this in the same way that you might not get a lead from your first batch of postcards do end up in the trash. And so you may only have a couple people nominated from that initial blast of postcards. But that's not enough. Like what we just said before the break, you need enough people where they're pushing it out for their friends and family to vote so that you can get a good number of people voting.
You're looking for 10 to 15.
Right. 10 to 15, I think, is a good number. And so let's say you get 5 nominations from the initial letter or postcard blast to the neighborhood.
Yeah, besides it only getting 5 people, you're getting the name of yard of the season out there, so when we start putting signs in the yard, people go, oh yeah, I know what that is. I remember that postcard we got.
Now, if the neighborhood has a Facebook group, at the same time you're sending out the initial postcard letter that's like a month in advance, you're also posting that to the Facebook group. And the Facebook group for the specific farm I'm describing, they have like rules around when you can post about your business, and it's like a certain day of the week. So when we scheduled this event for this year, we blocked it out in such a way that I was able to hit that Facebook group multiple times for nominations and then multiple times for voting. And then the voting ended the day before the announcement of the winners. And that was on the day that I was allowed to post about our business so that we can include that it's sponsored by us, who we are, etc.
Right.
And then so we would, send out your initial mailer, then either have them go to a landing page to register or nominate, and then post it on the Facebook group. And you can also create an event. I've done this before. We didn't do it the last time. Remember, I've got somebody in training, so we skipped that step. You can create an event, and then in the event description, the event I would have for the voting, but in the event description, you say nominate yourself or your yard by X date to participate. And then that way people can also engage in the event, and it goes out to everybody in the group. Whereas if you just post to the page, they may not see it. The algorithm of Facebook might.
Yeah, it might block it, or you have people have their comments or post thing turned off, so they don't know when they actually have to go to the group and look rather than it just being there. Yeah. Now,
I'm going to just pause for a moment and say, whenever you're working a farm, if you can make friends with, or just even if you're not friends, I use that term loosely, whoever is in charge of the neighborhood, even if there's not an HOA, there might be like a neighborhood watch, or there's somebody who's maybe running the Facebook group for the neighborhood. Illustrate to them how valuable you can be to them. Like, hey, I can sponsor your events. What else can I do for you? and then they'll let you do whatever, you know, because they see it as value to the neighborhood. Because I'm not like blasting my real estate sales across town.
We don't. Yeah, she doesn't go on there and go and say, "Look at this house we listed, open house on Saturday."
Yeah,
like there's none of that low. She doesn't have to prove that she's a real estate agent on the page. That's not what the point.
But if I can be the person who's creating events and fun things to happen and sponsoring the fun things that happen, then I'm creating a brand in that neighborhood. And so if you can befriend that person and show them that you can be of value to them in the neighborhood, then they would pin that event to the top of the page as well. And you just ask them to. Just say, hey, you know, we're doing yard of the season again. Encouraging people to keep their yards beautiful, right? Like that helps the neighborhood.
Right.
And so anyway, so you got your first initial mailing, you got it posted on Facebook, potentially an event on Facebook, and you start to get some nominations, but you don't have enough yet. I have found that you have to physically go out, and I don't mean you if you have an admin or somebody else can do it, but you physically just drive around, just spend a few minutes, not in lead gen time.
Right. You go out on a Saturday morning when you don't have an open house scheduled. You have your husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend sit in the passenger seat, and you drive around. And they write down the addresses of that's a cute house. Hold on, pull over. What's the number on that house? Write it down.
So this is what we used to do, what you're describing. And then we would mail a letter specifically to them saying their house was nominated to be on the thing.
And because it was by us.
Right. We're the nominating committee.
And then with a little explanation of who we are and what yard of the season is.
Now we're also telling them that if they win, it's bragging rights and prizes. We're going to give the first three top prizes with the grand prize for the first.
And I think in those original ones, we even said what the prizes were.
We probably did. We've gotten lazy on that. But the letter though, so we used to drive around, write down the addresses and then send the letter. The most recent one, I just had my two admins go out with pre-printed letters. So it didn't have a name at the top. It just said your yard has been nominated.
And put them on the door.
And they put them in the doorknob. And then that will elicit and what I found is you probably need to do 40 to 50 houses because not everybody's going to want to participate.
Yeah.
And then that should get you to between the initial mailing, posting on Facebook, and putting out nomination letters to yards that actually look good. Because those people.
Oh, you know what we should do?
What should we do? This is Seeking the Best. What is your idea?
Why don't we do a backyard oasis?
Oh, I know. I already thought of that because, well, I'm going to fast forward. We did the voting and the three top winners, I posted the announcement in the group and the top winner, everybody was saying congratulations to her. And somebody wrote, is this your front yard? Which it clearly was, but he was like, is this just for front? That's what he said. Is this just for front yards?
Right.
And so then I commented, it is, but I would love to do a backyard oasis in the neighborhood because I know, like I've sold a lot of houses. I know of some gems.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's plan on doing that maybe in the fall. Yeah. Like before it gets before it's actually fall and stuff, when there's still blooms and everything like that, but when it's cooler out so that people can, because that's the thing is like I can drive around and see the sign in the front yard back, but I can't do that if it's a backyard.
Well, you still have the sign out, and then it says go look at the photos.
Right, you have to look at the photos and stuff.
Yeah,
it's a little bit of a different thing because like when we did the backyard oasis tour,
that was an actual tour. Like people walked around, people had drinks in their backyard, snacks.
So maybe we could do something like that.
That seems like a lot of effort for this year.
No, we don't have to do it this year. We don't have to do it this year.
We got a lot of things going on.
Yeah, no, it rolls right into the party and stuff. Otherwise, yeah. Okay, anyway, move on.
So once you get your 10 to 15 nominations, and here's the other thing I've learned over time. If I don't have the amount of nominations I want, then go put out some more letters and change the nomination period, give it more time, and then post it again. And because the point again is that this is a business activity. It's a fun thing for the neighborhood, and they're going to get enjoyment out of it and all of that. But it's a business activity. You're trying to solicit contact information from people that you don't know. so that you can build a database. And so,
right. So if you've only got 4, don't waste your time.
well,
Just
so
give
go get
yourself
some more.
Yeah, give yourself
And
more
then
time
you need
to
to
do
reach out to those first people that nominated themselves or nominated somebody else and say, hey, we actually extended the nomination period because we got some people that we think want to participate and we're just putting it all together. So the voting will be pushed back a little bit. Just let them know. It's fine. Again, it's a free event. That
no one cares. Yeah.
Well, you never know. Like there's always that grumpy person that's like, meh.
Yeah.
But anyways, so once you've done at least one batch of nomination letters, the initial postcard post on Facebook at least a couple times. So give yourself a month, like so that you can do this it's going to take some time over the few weeks. Then you have your nominations. Then you're going to take photos of the front yard. Don't let them send photos because ultimately they will send blurry, not high enough resolution.
Right, vertical. They're not going to fit.
They're not going to do it right.
If you got anything higher than an iPhone 10 that has a wide angle on it, you can use your phone. Just go on a nice day, like preferably when the sun isn't behind the house, right? And you can do them yourself. You don't have to hire somebody.
Yes.
If you have a photographer or whatever, then great, use them, right? But if not, just use your phone. Just make sure you've got a wide angle and that they're uniform. All the photos look like they were taken by the same person from the same distance, and they look the same photo to photo.
Yes. So then from there, once you get the photos, you're going to, so this is what we do. The same landing page, we go in and we put the photos and a voting link underneath it. We put the address, the photo, and then a voting link. And then people can go in and vote for that address. And I want to direct them to our website as much as possible because, again, I'm taking them to Think with B. Like, this is where you go. This is where you go. And so that's the way I like to do it. However, if you don't have a landing page, the easiest thing to do would be to just post the photos to Facebook. It's just going to be harder for you to count up the votes because then you could have people just comment which, vote for your favorite.
Yeah.
And they could just vote in the comments thread.
By clicking or post all 10 photos and then say to vote, click on the one you like or, like the one that you vote for.
Right.
And
yeah.
then,
I've actually never done that because, and I think there's value to that because the more comments you get on a post, the more it's going to get seen, and comments and likes, the more it's going to get seen by everybody in the group. So there's value in being having a lot of engagement on the post.
But
in the group.
people can see who wins that way though too.
Yeah, I feel like.
And if you're not part of the group, then you can't vote.
And
that's the main key.
So that goes back to, this is a business activity. And I want more than just engagement with the people in the community because I'm already mailing to them. I'm already doing their community events and seeing them in person. Right. I want them to share with their friends and family and get those people too.
Right.
Those are me getting not mats and feeding my database. Goes back to the MREA book.
And
it's like,
there is
build a database, feed it daily.
And there is a connection, but not the connection from me to them. Like, it's like I was talking about before with running a club. It's the connection of them to me. Right. So they are connected to me because they are close enough friends with somebody in this nomination group that person reached out to them and said, hey, vote for my yard. And then that person is close enough friends with them to actually do that. And then then it connects right to me as the next person. Right. So I might not know them, but they know me now. Right. Yeah. And so when I do reach out, they're going to know who I am. I might not know who they are.
So before I forget this, just something I was thinking of, you could also give a prize for the person who gets the most, let's see. That's just the first prize. I was going to say the person who gets the most out. Yeah,
because you're trying to combining it with another thing.
Well, like I was thinking you could give a prize to the person who shares the event the most, but I don't know that you could easily track that. I mean, that's typically going to just be the person who wins first prize because they've shared it enough that they got the most votes.
Yes.
Because it's really, like, let's be honest, it's probably just a popularity contest, not necessarily who has the nicest yard.
Right.
Although the last one I think was fairly deserved.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, then so on the landing page, you have them vote. And then again, you're spacing it out so that you can share it, not every single day. People don't want to be bombarded with these things, but sharing it a couple times before the winner's announced. So if you share it 2 to 3 times for voting, and then you're going to announce the winners. And you're also in that so once you do this once, you've got people who've registered to vote or been nominated. Now you have an email list of people that you just created. And so the next time you do Yard of the Season, guess who's also getting an invite via email to participate again. Mm-hmm. And then you're also going to announce the winner via email to all of the people who voted. Mm-hmm. And now, because you just sent them that email, they're also then familiar with getting emails from you and what that looks like when you send them the next email about neighborhood market information and neighborhood community information. And so you're essentially creating an email list of people that you can communicate with. One of the things that we started doing, I don't remember, probably in the last couple of years. Well, we haven't done Yard of the Season that long, but probably since COVID, because it was like a way to have it. We couldn't do Easter that year because of COVID.
I think you're right. I think that is when we started.
And so we started doing it, and
it might have been right before that, but yeah.
It was a way to still be engaged in the community when we couldn't physically get out and see them.
I think, don't we have like Yard of the Season nomination signs and then a winner sign? I'm
getting there.
Oh, okay.
I guess that's part of it I should dive into. Yes, we printed signs. Now, again, do you need the signs? No, but I think here's the thing. It's all about exposure.
People like to have that in their yard.
People definitely like to have the winner sign.
They like to have the winner sign. They like to have the nomination signs. And we just go to like some online thing and just
you
make
design something.
You can do it in Canva or something.
So the nominations, the ones who are being voted on, they all have signs in their yard. So imagine again, this is like a couple weeks that you've got a sign with your brand on it in the neighborhood where maybe you
10 of them, 15 of them.
Yeah, right? 10 or 15 of your signs without actually having to have a listing there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's why we did the signs.
Yeah.
And then it's also because people walk around the neighborhood, they drive around the neighborhood and they're like, what is that? And then they
got the link on it.
They can go and vote.
Put a QR code on there if you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can put a QR code. And then when the winner is announced, you're announcing that on Facebook. You're sending out an email to all the people that voted and participated and were nominated. And then you're also posting it on Facebook. Did I already say that?
Yeah.
And then they're getting a winner sign that then is going to sit in their yard.
Right. For
a
month. Yeah.
And it can be a pride thing for them. Like they won this awesome contest. And if you did this, so the reason I said it's scalable is because you could start with like, here's a neighborhood that I'm farming already or that I intend to farm. Mm-hmm. And you start there and you do this event. And if you had 10 to 15, I'm going to say if you had 10 to 15 yards, you're probably going to get about 200 votes. 10 to 15 should get you 150 to 200 votes. Mm-hmm. And now you've just added, let's say 150 to go on the conservative side to your database. Mm-hmm. Now maybe do it to 2 or 3 neighborhoods. Now all of a sudden you've got 450 new
and now do
people.
Do it for Christmas decorations.
Yep.
And then do it for the beautiful autumn leaves. Yeah. And then do it in the spring.
Yeah.
Right?
Now currently we only do it twice a year.
But Florida is hard.
Well, it's hard because your yard doesn't look that great all the time.
In winter, outside of Christmas decorations, doesn't look that great.
Yeah.
And then spring is nice, and then the summer is just brutal, and we don't have autumn here.
We don't. But I do think that there's other things you do. But one of the other things we do is a pumpkin carving contest, and it works the same way. Yeah. We get them to register if they want to participate, and we'll bring the pumpkin to them because it's just down the street. And then they take photos of their pumpkins.
Yeah, and when we say register, we say anybody can participate, but we'll supply the first 30, 40, 50, 20 pumpkins, whatever fits your budget.
And then they do send the photos of their pumpkins because there's just no way to go take photos of somebody's pumpkins.
Yeah.
And then you have a voting.
Which can be funny when they take the photos.
Right. And that can add to their winning or not winning.
How peculiar people are by what they carve and then how those photos are taken.
Yeah. So it works the exact same way though, and it can be set up the same way. Is start a month out with like getting people involved and registering to participate, and then you're going to have them once you're going to deliver the pumpkins, and then you're going to have them voting on it.
Right.
And then if you did that plus the art of the season to the same neighborhood, and then added another neighborhood, think about it, in a year you could easily have, if you did 4 seasons, that's 600 new contacts potentially in your database.
Right.
And then if you did like a pumpkin carving contest, or something else in the spring.
Yeah, something with pets, or
we've
done pet photo
We've done
contests.
that with our Sphere and past clients.
Yes.
But you could easily do that with a neighborhood as well.
All of these things are possible. You just have to decide, which one of these am I going to do? Sit down on a Saturday morning. Do not do it during lead gen time, and pound out the outline for how it's going to work. Pull out a calendar, look at the dates, try to space things out, give yourself plenty of time to do it in between each thing, right? And then do all the steps.
Yeah.
And
then look for things that you can improve upon. Like, again, we didn't start with all the things. You just add things over time. Like I added to I don't think I've said this yet. I added to the form when people go to vote. I think just this year, maybe last year I added it, and for the winter season, I added a line for them to say, do they live in that neighborhood? Because guess what? They're not going to find the next email you send them valuable if they don't live in the neighborhood.
Right.
Now, what I want to change the question to, seeking my best, is what area of town do you live in?
Right. Yeah, you asked a close-ended question.
I asked a close-ended question because what it was I was like, you know what? I realized that we got some unsubscribes, right? We got some unsubscribes from the emails that went out after, and I realized it's because they don't live in that neighborhood
or in Florida.
Well, no, I think for the most part, there's probably a few, but
because what would happen if it was me and I was nominated, and I would tell my whole family,
and they wouldn't want that information.
My sister would vote, and she lives in 200 miles away from us, and she would say unsubscribe.
Yeah, and so
which is fine,
but
we just need to know.
But by asking the question, you can avoid the unsubscribe or people marking you as spam, because if they say I live in Illinois, you're giving them the opportunity to opt out, which. Like, let it happen, because they don't live here. They're just voting for their friend.
Taking up space on your computer.
But you still will get, if you got 150 votes, most of them are going to be local.
Yeah.
And they're going to be people that you don't already know. So you can really start to build, if you again, go back to that MREA, how many do you need in your not Mets database? This is an easy, pretty inexpensive way, because I guess the only thing that it costs is, because again, you don't need a landing page, but if you get a landing page, you can do that. They're not expensive if you already have a website.
We use lead pages.
I don't remember how much that is a year, maybe.
But we have lots of lead pages.
You can
we
have
them for so many things. Yeah.
But then you don't have to do that. We put signs out, so we paid for the cost of signs. I think that's worth it, and that's not super expensive.
Gotprint.com has the corrugated. They're like open house signs.
Yeah,
but
you just design something
same thing.
That
we
says,
just design a blank one and put all your information on there and stuff, and they're corrugated, and they last, you as long as you don't leave them in your trunk and let them get all beat up.
Yeah,
it's like they'll last quite a few years.
Well, look at it. Like I said, I think we started.
And you only have to do one-sided. You don't have to get both sides printed, because you can just have it facing
the street.
Yeah, it's only going in a yard facing the street. So.
Well, I think I do think we started this in COVID, so it's been 4 years of using them. They look great.
Yeah.
And then so there's really not a lot of cost at all. There doesn't have to be any, but I would suggest the signs, and then the prizes. And these do not have to be big prizes. This is just a fun thing. Look, these people that participated this last time, we didn't advertise what the prizes were.
Right.
So they'll get something garden, like lawn garden themed, because it makes sense for the thing. And it does, that part doesn't matter. It's like make it decent, but
whatever you can afford.
Don't give them a packet of seeds.
Right.
I think last year we did like a little garden gift basket for the grand prize with like a little shovel, gardening gloves,
Right.
some other
At the
things,
end of
and a
the day,
gift card
all the
to
prizes added together, maybe $150.
yeah, I would say that's probably reasonable.
Right.
So imagine though, like over time, you could really add a lot of people to your database by doing these little micro community events and building that not met. But then we didn't have time to get into this. So the fortune is in the follow-up, right? You can't just do the event and then not put the people in some sort of email system that you're going to communicate with regularly and not call them and thank them for participating. Like if you do that, if you don't do any of those extra things, then it was for nothing.
Right.
It was for nothing. My biggest pet peeve is like if we do an event and then I see a stack of registrations that didn't get entered in.
Right. They're just sitting on the floor in the corner of the office, big old stack up, and there's a bunch of
fireable
stuff
offense.
on them. You get fired for that kind of stuff. Don't let me find out.
Ladies and gentlemen, the question you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Questions from the web.
Question from the web. I'm a brand new realtor and I am trying to establish a social media presence. Of course, I'm using my real name and giving out all sorts of contact information. It makes me a bit uncomfortable as I've lived a pretty anonymous life so far. What do you do about, quote, admirers? I had a guy send me 10 messages on both Facebook and Instagram within an hour. I think he tried to call too, but I didn't answer. I use a Google Voice number. To be honest, for a split second, I thought about deleting all of my accounts because it kind of creeped me out.
Well, so this is the thing with real estate is it's, as people say, and I kind of hate this cliche, but it's a contact sport. You have to talk to people and people are going to see your face. You're going to have to put yourself out there. And sometimes that can happen. And it's just like I used to work in a bar when I first got my license. And of course you get hit on in bars and stuff too. And
wait, what? Just kidding.
And I would give my business card out to people.
Right.
And
you're looking for clients.
I'm looking for clients. And I do remember once or twice getting a call from somebody. I'm like, I do not think this person is really looking to buy a home.
Yeah.
And you just have to qualify the lead just like you would any other lead, because what if they actually want to buy a house?
Yeah.
And I know it can feel uncomfortable and creepy. You just have to ask the right questions. And
as a new agent, right? You don't know yet how to qualify and what to do. But remember this, treat your business like a business. So if that person is interested, you don't write them back, especially if it's not during business hours. And then the next day during business hours, you LP Mama, if you don't know what that is, listen to some of our old episodes, and you set an appointment if an appointment needs to be set in your office.
Yeah, in a business setting.
In a business setting, the way that it's supposed to. You get them to sign an engagement letter. You have them talk to a lender. And if they're not willing to do those things, they are telling you they're not serious.
Yeah.
And that is why we do it this way, is to weed out people who have ulterior motives, aren't really serious, all of those things. If they're not willing to do those things, that's what they're telling you. And that's why we do that, is to weed them out.
But there's also like a lot of spam in this industry. So beyond like creepy dudes, you also get like messages that you can just tell are spam. I do not respond to those. Like if it looks like spam, I'm going to make an educated decision and not respond. Now, every now and then it's a little bit unclear. And so I'll just send out an email. And then when they send back the WhatsApp number or the Google Drive link where they want you to click on it, here, look at my criteria, then I just delete that email and I don't respond.
Right.
And same thing with some creepy dude. If they've called 10 times and you call back and they're like trying to ask you on a date, you just say, no, thank you. I'm already taken. And did you have some real estate needs, or what real estate needs can I help you with? And if they keep pushing, just say, I'm a professional realtor. If you have real estate needs, I'm happy to refer you to somebody that can help you with that.
Yeah. That's true. That's all.
And you could like that. Yeah. What I was getting at the end there is if they're a real buyer, but they still are creepy to you and they've asked you out and crossed a line or made you feel uncomfortable, just say, great, I'll have one of my business partners give you a call and get that worked out. I did have one time, where I felt a little bit uncomfortable with somebody.
You've had a couple clients fall in love with you. I can think of one or two.
I don't know about that, but I do recall somebody that made me think that they were not necessarily serious about buying. I wasn't sure, but I didn't want to be the one working with them, and so I just had somebody else work with them, and they did end up actually buying a house. So if it makes you uncomfortable, just direct them to somebody else.
Right. But you have
else
to have your contact information.
And honestly, you can have somebody else call them on your behalf. It's like you're not you don't own a team, so you don't know this yet. But like when you own a team, it's like if I got a text message the other day about somebody who wanted to buy a house. Well, I didn't call them back because I'm not the buyer's agent on my team. I just had the buyer's agent call them, and they say, I'm the buyer's agent for the Think Live Be team. How can I help you? And then he set an appointment and is working with them. So you can approach it the same way. Just have somebody else in your office, and then you get a referral fee if he's serious. If he's not, then and move on.
Right. Great. Small win. Kat, you got a small win this week?
Well, my small win is I wanted to cut back on afternoon coffees.
How's that working out?
It's good. I'm on day 4. Now, I promised myself that I could have a treat on certain days of the week, but I'm on day 4 of no afternoon coffees. So if I just have one per week, I think that's good, and that's fair. So I'm happy.
Good.
I'm proud of myself.
My small win is I got a job last week where I had to do some design work of stuff that I have never done before, and I said, yeah, I can do that, even though I had never done it. And I sat down and, it took me a couple hours to kind of figure out the process of what I needed to do. And I did figure it out.
Of course you did, because you can do everything.
I figured it out, and I've been busting through that job a lot faster than I thought I was going to be able to, because it was all new work. But everything's going pretty good, so that's always nice.
Well, that's a good example of, let me remind people that if you're brand new to the business, obviously there's going to be a big learning curve. But let's say you're a few years in and you've sold plenty of homes and you have the opportunity to list a luxury home.
Right.
Sometimes.
Oh, yeah, I see. I know exactly what you're going to say. Yeah.
A lot of times people can feel fearful of doing something because they're like, well, I've never done that before. And so instead of going for it, they cower away from it.
It's not just that. It's that I was asked specifically, have you ever done this before? And I said, have I ever done this specifically before? No, but I've been doing this for 30 years. I can do anything. I can figure it out.
Well, and my point is
because
that
people ask you that, have you ever sold a house in this neighborhood? And it's like, I've sold 500 houses. Why do I have to sell? What does it matter? Your stupid ranch in this $300,000 ranch. Like, why are you asking me if I've ever sold in this neighborhood?
Well, yeah, it applies to that kind of question too. It's like, if you have experience doing something and you've got all the tools and resources and you know how to do the thing, maybe not that specifically, you still are probably qualified to do that next thing.
Yeah.
And your example is like, Pat knows Photoshop inside and out. He's taught it to people before. So he can do anything that is required in the graphics world because he knows how to use that tool better than probably anybody. And
well, not anybody, but a lot.
A lot of people. And so I guess my point was just, like, you can do things. If you have experience selling houses, don't let somebody's question like I think your example was even better. It's like, have you ever sold a house in this neighborhood? Who cares? I've sold hundreds of homes. I've sold thousands of homes. Whatever your answer is, that's the answer. Is, have I ever sold a home in your neighborhood? Well, I've sold 1,000 homes. Yeah. So I think I've got this under control.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it like that, but that's my point in this.
Well, that is the argument, and it can catch you off guard because you don't know how to explain it. You might not know how to explain it without feeling like, am I being too braggy?
Well, I think most people would be real defensive.
Right.
And feel like inadequate because you're asking, have I done something? And the answer is no. And the point that you're making is it doesn't matter because I can do anything
Right.
that is
Well,
required in the graphics world.
When somebody goes in and says, well, if you go auditioning for a part, nobody ever asks, hey, have you ever played a superhero before? Right? It's like,
Right.
look at my history and then say, oh, okay, this guy can do that.
Is he qualified to do this?
Right.
Yes.
They're two different things.
Yeah.
So, that's it.
Oh, that's it.
That's it, I guess. Hey,
Sorry,
guys.
I took a sip of water.
That's okay. Remember to rate and review us on iTunes. It really helps new listeners to find us. Send your questions from the web to onseekingthebest@gmail.com. Leave us a Spotify voicemail with your questions and we'll play it on the show. All info is in the show notes. And for Kat and myself, thanks for listening, and we'll figure this all out next week.
Bye.
This has been a Think Live Be production.